Well, I'm here in the Bottleneck car park in Douglas, catching up with Eric Corkish, who I'd normally meet up in Ramsey.
Yeah.
But this is interesting because I know you've gone to the media about a situation you're having with the Bus Vannin, really, isn't it? The situation with your trusty mobility scooter.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting story because you thought you were getting somewhere, you thought you could take this on board, and alas, it all seems to have gone backwards. So over to you. You want to tell the story?
Yeah, I went to the bus company to see whether I could use my buggy on the buses because it did say they weren't allowed. I spoke to one of the engineers and he sent me an email saying that he thinks it could be used because they're not heavy, like it's not the big class 3 buggies, it's class 2. And he thought that they would be able to do something with it, but then a couple of weeks afterwards I got an email from him saying that I wasn't going to be allowed to use my buggy on the buses because it was too heavy for the ramps, and that the ramps would break with the weight of it, and that would put the whole bus out of use because the computer system would tell it that the ramp was broken. But I don't really see how that can occur because on the raised curbs that they have, they're raised up to 8 inches, and the floor entrance into a bus before they drop the suspension is 14 inches, and they're dropping it down more than 6, so in most places there wouldn't even need to be a ramp used.
And what happens in the UK? I mean, this must is these banned everywhere, or what, is
No.
it area by area, or what?
No, in the UK it's got the Confederation of Passenger Transport have launched a code of practice for using these buggies on buses, and it's accepted by nearly all the bus companies in England, which include Arriva, Blackpool Buses, East Yorkshire, National Express, Stagecoach and many more. And the way that they do it is that the person with a buggy goes along to the local bus company with the buggy, and the buggy is checked for size, and then they're shown how to get on and off a bus with a buggy safely, and where they can and can't get off.
Oh, you get your health and safety briefing, do you?
Yep, and then
right.
and then they give you a credit-sized card that tells you that you and your buggy are allowed on the bus, and when the bus stops, you show them that, and you're allowed onto it. And most of the bus companies in England are using that system, and I've also checked Scotland and Ireland, and they are using the same system.
So what's happened here? Because it was like almost a yes, and then they changed their mind or something. Do you think it's just someone's got the wrong end of the stick, or have they just done a blanket ban? I mean, what's the situation?
The engineer that I spoke to, and I showed him the buggy, and he thought that it would be okay and that they could just relax the rules and allow it on. But now he says it's specifically in their terms and conditions that they are not allowed to have these buggies on.
Yeah, but I mean, besides the weight issue, do you think it's their health and safety because it's taking up a seat, a place in the aisle or something?
It only takes the same space as what a pram does, and they can fit 2 prams onto a bus. And they've also stated that because they would go too fast, they may not be safe. You can turn these buggies down so that they're virtually only just moving, and you can also remove the battery and pick it up and roll it into the space. And they also said that they have special straps and flooring for wheelchairs to hold them. Well, I've looked on the bus, I've never seen these straps or the special surface, and this buggy locks. You lock the front so that the can't move in direction, and you lock the back so it's totally fixed to the floor. And I carry this buggy with me in the car.
We've got this video of you just lifting it in here now. I mean, what you say, 1, 2 and 3, I mean, different size are they? Different, you got these very dinky things, then you get these animal size ones. You've got one of those, haven't you?
Yes, I've got one of the large ones I actually use to get around Ramsey.
Yeah.
And there's no way I expect to get that onto a bus. But this buggy is small enough. I mean, like you say, you've seen me lift it in and out of the car, and it's so small that you can lift it up and just pull it along on its back wheels, so there's no problem with actually using it on the bus itself.
So, I suppose I've done a register Tymmal like everybody else did on Tymmal Day. So it sounds like one of these things that just needs someone to really think about again.
Yeah, well, I had hoped, I did an article in the Alaman newspapers, and I had hoped somebody from the transport would get in touch with me, or an MHK, but I've had absolutely no response, only from members of the public who agree with me, but from any officials I've had no response whatsoever.
Well, I recently did an interview with Ian Bates, who's now in charge. Maybe he'll be the guy to get in touch with?
Well, maybe that's what I'll have to do. I mean, if any of them are watching this, they can get in touch with me, because it really, it should be that a disabled person has the same rights as anybody else, and that should include getting on a bus, which the government has spent millions on buying these new buses with ramps, and now they tell you the ramps are going to break if somebody uses it.
Is this a Class 2 you called it, a 2?
Class 2.
Right, so Class 1's okay? Is that
Class 1, Class 2, perfectly okay. Once you go above that, you're going on to the bigger buggies.
But is Class 1 allowed on the bus? I was just saying.
No,
nothing at all.
No, nothing at all.
Okay, because they're really light, aren't they? Those diddy
the only thing they allow on is a wheelchair or a powered wheelchair.
So if you're completely immobile, I mean, you can move around with, because you've got one leg, you've got your prosthetic one there, but to people who have no mobility, this must be quite a. I can't believe it's taken this long to kind of hit the public consciousness almost.
Well, if you look at it another way, I've got my card for the buses, and at the moment I can get on the bus in Ramsey and I can come to Douglas without me buggy, and then my next trip is 10 minutes later when I get on the bus to go back to Ramsey, because I can't go anywhere in Douglas. So in effect, it's a bus ticket to nowhere.
Okay. Your phone number, do you want to put it out there?
Yeah, 452 942.
And do let us know what happens, won't you?
I will do,
and we'll keep an interest in this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem quite right to me. It almost seems like something's quite got lost somewhere in translation.
They talk about your carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And I've helped to reduce mine by only having 1 foot.
Should I laugh at that? I should laugh.
But I want to use buses to reduce my carbon footprint and also fill in the days. And I'm not allowed to do it. And it's for a reason that there is no reason. If they follow every bus company in England, including London, you can get onto a bus with a mobility scooter.
You've been very calm about this one. I know sometimes you get very heated, but you seem
well, at the moment I am.
Okay. Yeah, watch out.
I still think there's a chance that maybe somebody will change their mind.